Hi everyone, welcome back to CrochetRocks. Tracy here, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this this blanket that I've been working on. Now I was hoping to wait until it was finished, but lots of people keep asking me to do the tutorial for it. So this is a blanket that I'm making for the Boggy Creek camp for this year, and this is a blanket that I've made lots and lots of times in the past. And a little bit of history of it. It was my very first ever tutorial that I put on here on YouTube, but back then, you know, I left a lot to be desired, and so I took it off. But this is, well, I called it the Rocky Road, and it was a stitch that I've not seen anybody do before when I did it. There is one very similar, but not the same. But since then, there probably is a lot more people having done this and called it something else. But for now, this is my Rocky Road blanket for Boggy Creek. So this is the one that I'm making, but I've done some swatches to show you what it's like with other yarn. So if that was ice cream yarn, I'll show you that in a moment. But this one is a chunky yarn, and this is quite an awful yarn that was in a Crochet Society box that I had. But I thought I would show you how it works up in chunky, and I like it. Sorry about my fish tank making a noise. I'll sort that out in a second. But yeah, this is the stitch with a chunky yarn. It's the reason it's a horrible yarn is because it's not very, it's very splitty, but it wasn't too bad with my tulip hook. Now I used a 5.5, but as you can see, it is fairly thick for a chunky yarn, so I could have used a larger hook. But if you use a larger hook, then these little holes, they do become bigger and it becomes more drapey, obviously. But I wanted to show you both. So that is with a chunky yarn and a 5.5, which is quite snug then. It was easy to make. It wasn't hard to pull through or anything. But that's the chunky yarn. This was with another DK yarn, and incidentally, apart from this one, the rest of these yarns that I'm showing you are in my shop, hobbyrocks.co.uk. This is the new Cloud 9 by King Cole, and I used a 4.5, and this makes it a lot more drapey than the blanket that I'm making. So that's how it looks with a kind of a simple variegated yarn. Okay, and then I used this one, which is a Lion Brand mandala. I can't remember the name of it. It's just a piece one that I had left over from a scarf that I made. But this is how it works up with a 4-weight Aran yarn. Obviously, I didn't get to change colour on it, but you can see it's quite compact there. I used a 4.5mm crochet hook, so that's using the same hook, only you're getting a wider kind of drapier effect. This is still drapey, but not the same. So I'm just going to pause it for a second, and I'll clear all these out the way, and I will show you the yarn that I'm using and how we do this stitch. Okay, so the yarn that I'm using is this Lion Brand ice cream yarn in the colour of Banana Split that I've had in my stash for quite some time. It is a 3-weight. It's quite a good size 3-weight. And this whole section took me just one ball. I've just changed the ball over. So I've got 4 of these. I've got 5, I think somewhere I've got another one. But that's what I'm making the blanket with. But for that yarn, I have done a total of 106 chains, and it gives me a blanket that is 32 inches wide. Now, that's without border, because I intend to put a nice wide border on. So even if my border was an inch, which it will probably be more, by the time I've gone all the way around, that will add another 2 inches to the blanket. So it will probably, once it's finished, it will be 35 inches wide, which is one of the stipulations for the Boggy Creek blanket. They have to be 35 to 40 inches wide and 40 inches in length, I believe. I'm going to put all of that in the description box and all the materials used, etc. So to show you how this works up then and how to do it, I'm going to use some Stylecraft Special Aran, and I'm going to keep with my 4.5mm crochet hook, although I would probably go up to 5 if well, it's not that thick, might be okay. Okay, so for this blanket then we have a multiple of 2, so just crochet any even number, and you don't want your initial chain to be tight. That's the only thing, because otherwise it might pull when you do your first row. So I'm just doing these in 2 so I don't lose count. Doesn't matter how many I do, it's just a swatch. We'll do another couple. Okay, so we have a multiple of 2 then. Now we don't have any extra, that's it. Because the beginning stitch is going to be made in the second chain from the hook. So this loop doesn't count, there's our first. And we're going to do a UK double crochet, which is a single crochet in the US. And in the next chain, we're going to make a UK treble, which is a double crochet in the US. And we're going to repeat that. So we've got a UK double or US single, a UK treble or a US double. I wish we had the same names for our stitches. It would make life so much simpler. And that's our repeat all the way to the end of the row. And it's as simple as that, guys. It looks nice. It makes a nice kind of, I think, boxy stitch. And I've got something that I had planned for this stitch a little bit later on, if I get round to doing that. So we're just going to keep repeating that to the end. And we started with a UK double or US single. And then we did a UK treble or a US double crochet. And just as we started with our UK double or US single, we are going to end with exactly the same stitch. So you begin and end with a UK double or US single crochet, and that is what it looks like. So if you turn it over, it has a kind of a bump to it. I like the texture of this, I really do. So I'm just going to pop it down a little bit because I don't want to go off camera. Okay, so the second row, now I normally, it depends on the yarn, and with this yarn I wouldn't make a chain, but with a DK I do. It depends on how slippy the yarn is, but I'm going to show you what I do. I make a chain and I cinch it right down so you can't see it, and then in that very first stitch, which remember was a UK double or a US single, we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to do a UK double US single crochet, and in our next stitch, which was our UK treble or our US double, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the same stitch as the row beneath. So there is our shorter stitch. We're going to do our UK double US single, and there's our taller stitch. We're going to do our UK treble or US double. So that's the repeat all the way to the end of the row. We're copying exactly the row beneath. Now the other stitch that I said it's very similar to, I forget the name, there's so many names for every stitch, you do the opposite. So where you have your UK double crochet or your US single, you would be doing the treble or double in there. But no, with mine, we do the same stitch as the row below. It's nice and simple. And there's no point in me pausing it and catching up with you at the end because it's such a small swatch. We'll just do it together. Now, because it's a tall stitch and a short stitch, don't worry about the fact that it won't look right, because the smaller of the two, the UK double or US single, pulls the other one slightly more horizontal, so it becomes straight, but you just get this bumpy texture, which I like. So I do find that you will get a right side and a wrong side, although they are identical, obviously. But your first row, I like to have this side facing, not the back side. So this is obviously the front, but they are identical. So now we've reached the end of the row. Again, I'm going to do that chain and cinch it really low so it doesn't get confused with the stitch. And in that first one, again, I'm just going to repeat the row beneath. Now, as I said, sometimes I don't even bother doing that chain and cinching it down. It kind of depends on the yarn, and the thicker the yarn, I don't do it. And this is, I've always done that. I don't like the turning chain. And when you've got the short stitches, like a UK double or half treble, which is a US single crochet or a half double crochet, then I tend to not do the chain. So if I do one, it's because the yarn is sort of kind of slippy and I don't want that to slip back and make the stitch smaller. If I do one, I just cinch it right down. It just depends on the yarn itself. Thinner yarns, I tend to do it. Sometimes fatter yarns, I don't. And if you, I don't do turning chains at all anymore. You might have seen my videos on the no turning chains. I will put a link to those at the end of this video when all of the videos pop in that I choose to show. I'll make that my video. So if you haven't seen those yet, then they are an eye-opener and it's well worth watching. So this is how it's going to look. So it's easier to show you with a plain yarn the actual texture and pattern that you're getting. Okay, so as I've been doing it, I will do my chain and cinch it low. I've got this tangled around my finger. So incidentally, I'm using a wool Jeanie for this, and I now would not be without my wool Jeanie. They are amazing. And it's just this thing here. It dangles off of this very strong magnet. And seriously, I have a few of these now for when I'm running more than one yarn. And I have a few spare spindles in case I'm changing colour. Because since I started using this, I will now not be without it. It's amazing. And you don't have to buy the fancy schmancy ones that are wood. The plastic ones are the best. Absolutely. Now, I liked it so much, I bought it for my shop, hobbyrocks.co.uk. And I need to put in another order for the spare spindles, but I'll be doing that soon. Because they are amazing. I just cannot, especially doing tutorials, they're fantastic for that. The yarn no longer runs all over the place. So that, as you can see, is coming along nicely with the pattern. So that's the repeat. It is simple as that. In the row beneath, you just copy it and mirror exactly. And it doesn't give you one big tall stitch, one big short stitch. It pulls it over nicely. I'm doing a couple of rows with you because I want to show you how it works up once you've done a fair bit of the swatch. And you can see the pattern emerging. I really like this, and I used to just call it my blanket stitch. I've made blankets with this stitch for a long time, but it didn't kind of have a name when I was using it. But like I said, people have probably taken it on board and given it a multitude of names ever since. But for me, first of all, it was just blanket stitch, and then it became rocky road stitch because it's like a rocky road. Like where I live is a rocky road. Okay, so there we are. That's it. And you can see these lovely square bobbles emerging. And like I said, I'm going to be doing something with this stitch fairly soon. So that's it. And as I said, my Boggy Creek blanket was 106 chain. If you wanted to make it slightly longer, you can, or shorter. You can, as long as you have your right multiple. So it's any even number and no extra will give you the stitch count that you need for this. And you start and end, as long as you start and end with the same stitch. And for me, it was the UK double crochet, US single crochet. And as you start and finish with those, it also gives you, I'll bring in my blanket, a really lovely straight edge on this. And so that's what it's kind of coming up like with this variegated yarn. I wasn't sure I liked it at first, but it's growing on me, and I like the way the pattern is going across the blanket. So the orange is moving and the teal is moving. So yeah, that's the ice cream yarn, but you can obviously make this with any yarn as long as you use the corresponding crochet hook. But I like it a lot in plain yarn, I have to say. It really gives you this this bobble effect, this kind of square bobble. I like that. And yeah, watch this space. I will hopefully do something with that soon. So that's my multiple and the blanket that I've been working on. As I said, I would have liked to have got it finished, but I keep getting asked by people to do the tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed that anyway. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.